A few summers ago, I had to go be in a wedding in Michigan with one of my best friends. And on the way back, I got a speeding ticket in Ohio. Do not speed in Ohio, or any other state for that matter. Well, a few weeks later, after I thought I'd paid the ticket and there was some confusion on my part on whether or not the ticket was taken care of or not, I went to youth camp. I love youth camp. And the Thursday night of high school camp, we were having a concert. I was missing part of that concert because a counselor had come up to me needing some help. He had two pretty difficult campers that week, and he was just asking my advice on how to deal with them. He was very tender-hearted, he was very compassionate, but he wanted to strangle these two kids. I told him that wasn't a good idea. So as I'm talking with him and praying, my friend comes up. It's camp director Greg Edmonds, who's going to be a missionary in Haiti. That's beside the point. Greg comes up and says, "Hey, we need to take Wes to the hospital. He hurt his knee playing basketball today." Wes is the guy who had just got married in Michigan. So I said, I told the counselor, well, you know, we can talk about this later. And we prayed. I prayed for Wes's knee. I prayed for these two campers. I prayed for the counselor. We walked away. We went and got in my church van, and we headed to the highway. Now, Table Rock Wesleyan Camp is located right off of Highway 11. We were going to the hospital in Pickens, I believe. And I'm taking a friend to the hospital. I'm driving fast. We get about a mile down the road on Highway 11, and Wes says, it's me, Greg, the camp director, Wes, and Wes's new wife, Amanda. Wes says to me, "Dude, I left all my insurance stuff, my wallet, I left everything at the camp. We got to go back." I said, okay. So we turned around. We get on the camp road. I'm flying, man. My friend needs to get to the hospital. I'm flying. We pull up. We're getting ready to pull into our cabin, the big house. We pass a car. And I knew immediately that that car was the police. Sure enough, he turned on his lights, and I had already pulled into the parking lot, and he pulled in behind me. And it then occurred to me that not only had Wes left his wallet in the room, I had left my wallet in the room. So the police officer comes up. He says, "Do you realize how fast you were going?" I said, "Well, sir, I'm taking my friend to the hospital. He hurt his knee." He said, "We've had a lot of complaints about people speeding. Did you see any other officers out on Highway 11? And I said, "No, sir, I didn't." He said, "We're trying to cut it down. A lot of speeding out here." He said, "I need your license and registration." I said, "Well, I can give you the registration, but we came back because our wallets are in the room right here. We don't have our wallets." He says, "You're driving without your license." I said, "Yes, sir. We got a mile down the road. We realized we had left them here. We came back." And he says, "Is this your church van?" I said, "Yes, sir. You know, I'm the youth pastor at the church." He says, "Okay." He gets my social security number, my birth date, some other information. He goes back to his car. I'm thinking a lot of things. I'm thinking I'm in big trouble. I might have to explain this to my senior pastor. Well, I'm also thinking about the lawyers that I know. Fortunately, my uncle was a judge at the time, and we did have a lawyer in our church. The cop comes back. He says, "Do you realize the penalty for driving without your license in the state of South Carolina?" I said, "Yes, sir. That's why we came back. We were only a mile down the road. You know, it was an honest mistake." He said, "You just recently got a ticket. How many points are off your license?" I said, "No, sir. That's been taken care of. I don't have any points off my license." He said, "This is going to be a hefty fine, but if you'll come to the magistrate's office on this date, I'll sit down with you and we can probably get this reduced. Can you do that for me?" I said, "Yes, sir. I really appreciate your help. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience." And then he looked at me and he did this. "What's that smell?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Have you been drinking?" I said, "Sir, we're at youth camp. No one's been drinking." He says, "I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." He needed me to step out of the vehicle. I get out of the church van. He says, "Man, I smell it all over you. You telling me you haven't been drinking?" I said, "Sir, we're at youth camp. We don't have, what are you talking about? We have not been drinking." He says, I want you to go stand over there. So I went and go stand where he told me. And about that time, the district superintendent of the South Carolina district of the Wesleyan Church, Buddy Rampy, pulls up and says, hey, what's going on? Now at this time, I hear the concert still going on across the field, and I am starting to panic a little bit. So Buddy says, hey, what's going on? I'm like, just a little misunderstanding here. And about that time, the police officer turns around from the church van with not one, but 2 beer cans. 2 beer cans. He turns around and says, are these yours? I said, oh my dear goodness, those are not mine. And I hear these words that still ring in my head and haunt me. He says, hands on the vehicle. And so I'm there at youth camp, assuming the position on the church van. A lot of things are running through my head. At this point in time, my wife and my family were in New York. I'm thinking, who am I going to call to bail me out of jail? And as I'm standing there, I'm thinking, who did this? Was it these 2 kids? They're giving us so much trouble. I'm thinking, who's been drinking in the church van? I'm just standing there. And we're only talking about 10 seconds passing, but it seemed like an eternity. And then, a moment I'll never forget. I felt what appeared to be a gun in my back. My life flashed before my eyes. And then the officer leaned into my ear and said, you've just been punked. Flashbulbs started going off. People started laughing. People were clapping. The guys got out of the van. They're clapping and they're hooting and hollering. And I'm trying to see if I'm still alive, or if indeed I have had a heart attack. Turns out that that police officer is actually helping at a Wesleyan church. There's a lot of people involved in this little trickery, this prank, and to this day I have yet to get any of them back. Now, is that to say that I'm not going to try to get them back? Oh no. Oh no. I'm just biding my time. So the moral of this story is, do not speed. Do not get pulled over. And if your friend hurts his knee playing basketball and asks you to take him to the emergency room, tell him, just walk it off, buddy. Walk it off.